It's the Bud Grant Show with Minnesota Vikings head coach Bud Grant and Channel 5 sports director Bob Bruce. Now, here's Bob Bruce.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to the Bud Grant Show. You know, yesterday's game is the kind of game that every fan who has ever sat through chilling winds, freezing temperatures to see a football game, it's the kind of game that you dream about seeing once in a lifetime, when that magical moment in sports when the impossible suddenly becomes reality. It was just magnificent as the Minnesota Vikings once again become the NFC Central Division champions. We have the man here with us today who helped and played such an important role in those magical moments at the end of yesterday's game, and that is wide receiver Ahmad Rashad. Welcome to the show, Ahmad.
Nice to be here.
And, of course, to my right, the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, Coach Bud Grant. And I guess you could go through a lifetime of coaching and never have another game just like the one that happened yesterday.
No, we've won games in the last plays, and but not in a sequence of things that happened. You know, scoring a touchdown with 37 in the space of 37 seconds, and then getting the ball back with 14 and going 80 yards to score, I think was something that you know, none of us will experience exactly like that again. And you know, it's unfortunate that some of the fans had to leave, but I'm sure in a couple of years you'll probably be able to run into 150,000 people that were there on that day.
You mentioned that a lot of the fans left. They saw the almost impossible situation that the Vikings were in, but you on the sideline, I'm sure, always thought deep down somewhere that maybe a miracle might happen.
Well, I don't know that you really count on it, but I think you only have so many Sunday afternoons to ply your trade, and you just have to keep working at it till the last second. And as the clock was wearing down, we were going over. There was Les Steckel on one headset and Jerry Burns upstairs and myself, and going over what could we do with how many seconds and how many minutes we had left, and we talked about plays, and finally it was narrowing down. We had less and less time, and when we finally got the ball, it was 14 seconds, and we only had a couple of plays that we could run. Fortunately, they were not high percentage plays, but they did work.
Let's talk about the two plays that were just magnificent. The play I liked the best, even maybe more so than Ahmad's catch, was the flea flicker type play that set up the possibility of going for that touchdown, and the smart, intelligent play of Teddy Brown getting out of bounds so that there would be 4 or 5 seconds left in the game.
It was a play we'd worked on briefly in practice. It's a play that you have to have special talents for. We think Joe Sensor has that, being that he was a great basketball player, and you'll see or have seen him flick the ball to Teddy coming underneath. You have to have a back with some timing to, you know, get there at the right time. It's not easy. Other teams have run it. I know I've run it in Canada a good deal when we had a tight end similar to Joe Sensor. It happened to work, and Teddy was smart enough not to get the extra 4 or 5 yards, but to get out of bounds. But had he gotten another 10 yards, we may have been forced to try a 50-yard field goal that might have been a little bit tough on a cold day.
Ahmad, how long did it take you to realize, I mean, was there a split second before you realized that you had the ball and you had scored the touchdown?
No, I think that as a receiver, it's your job to put yourself in a position to try and make the play. And as I was running down the field, I could see that it was working out where I was going to be in a position to make the play if the ball came in a 10-yard radius. And it just so happened that the ball came in that area, and at that point, it made it easier at that point because it was just a little lob shot.
And you just sort of backed into the end zone.
If the ball had gone the other way, Terry LeCount was in perfect position to make the play, and Sammy really made the play by getting up with the defenders and tipping the ball.
Well, we have to mention quarterback Tommy Kramer, who a lot of people will think about those two plays, but the entire game, taking the entire game into account, he had an unbelievable day yesterday.
It's the kind of day that quarterbacks dream of, I suppose. He was on the money all day. I don't think there was an errant pass, was there?
Not at all.
You could remember. He was on the money all day, under pressure a lot of the time. His timing was excellent. His vision was great. We dropped a couple balls that even, you know, could have been big plays, and yet he just had an outstanding day. I think it was one of the top days the quarterbacks had in the National Football League.
In just a moment, we'll be back, and we'll take a look at those two great plays at the end of the game. In fact, all of the highlights from yesterday's crazy sort of game out at Metropolitan Stadium right after this. The important thing is that the Vikings won the game yesterday, but there were two things that sort of concerned me a little bit. One was the place kicking of the Vikings, and also the pass rush, because Sipe had a tremendous amount of time to throw the football, and you had some problems on extra points, field goals, kickoffs. It wasn't a good day in that respect.
No, but I guess we can't have everything. Our kicking's been very consistent all year, one of the tops, and it's just a day we didn't have the outstanding kicking, and our pass rush was at least as good as Cleveland's.
That's true.
So it worked out about even.
I'll have to hand it to you that way. We'll look at the first half now. First half highlights, Minnesota versus Cleveland, and it was an up-and-down ball game. It looked like Cleveland had the upper hand most of the game.
Well, the first half, you see Sipe, here's Calvin Hill catching a pass coming out of the backfield, and I think you saw a real pro. Sipe just, you know, is 31 years old, been in the league a while, and seems to see everything, as a fine arm, not big a stature, and you see a little bit of movement. He's never, I shouldn't say never, very seldom runs for yardage. He runs for time. He got a few yards, kept the drive alive. I hear that we're in a blitz, and they hit Calvin Hill coming over the middle, making a catch, and you know, he's like a tight end in there. He's 6'4", 220 pounds. Put the ball inside, and he made a great catch. You see a little fake there. You see Sipe has that good feel back there, the good movement, and comes way across here to Pruitt on a big play that kept their drive alive to go to move down the field. And you see there the draw play, and Pruitt, just an outstanding running back as well as a receiver. Sipe doesn't take a big drop, but hangs in the pocket. Here he hits Logan, and you see him come back for the ball, a big wide receiver. They have outstanding people. Here's Sipe on a bootleg, sees daylight and doesn't bother looking for a receiver, just runs in the end zone for an apparent easy touchdown, but I'm sure something they'd worked at, something they'd seen us do. We start this drive now to come down the field just before the half, and you can see we're in our shotgun formation. Tommy back throwing very quickly. They're trying to cover off on our wide receivers, keeping them from getting out of bounds or any kind of a sideline pattern, so you just have to be patient. You see it's Sensor and Ricky Young coming out of the backfield that gets most of our yardage. Here we try to get to the end zone quickly in the last 10 seconds, and we're just about 2 or 3 yards short there. We don't get in. We can't run another play. We're out of timeouts, and we don't avail ourselves anything there.
At halftime, I was a little worried because in that particular drive, you had 2 penalties. That hurt you. You had a quarterback draw that worked very well. It was called back because of penalty. Then you had another penalty. Yet in the second half, the Vikings came out, and they were really inspired.
The penalties hurt us a couple times. Tommy was across the line once and had a big play to Censor, and then we had the quarterback draw down about the 4-yard line. We were caught for holding, but those were the only penalties that hurt us. The second half, the penalties went the other way, and we had the advantage of them.
Let's get into the second half because there's some great football played on the part of both teams, both Cleveland and Minnesota, and it made for an exciting finish.
Well, they came back throwing the ball, and you see Sipe getting out to the side here, but they're, you know, they slowed down just a little bit. I think our defense had stiffened a little bit. Here they get a break on a punt. I shouldn't say a break. I'm sure they planned to get it down there, put it down, see if they can put it on the ground. Here we're on the 2-yard line. We have a drive here now that goes 98 yards for a touchdown. I think maybe that gave us all the confidence we need. You see Ahmed catch a sideline pattern there coming out of our end zone, and then a great play by Sammy. If he wasn't tripped up there, I think you might have seen him had another 10, 12, 15 yards tacked onto that play. Into the shotgun here on a 3rd down play. A good play by Ricky Young, covered there, got away from that defender and kept that drive alive. That was a key play of the drive as far as we could tell. And then Ahmed, of course, catches one in the back of the head there as you go down. But a good pass. Tommy was on the money all day. Just did an excellent job. Here's the screen to Joe Sensor, and watch Joe catch the ball going ahead. Boyd out in front, and you don't see it in this film, but Ricky Young blocks out the last man and does an excellent job. He's 2nd and 3rd effort there that allows us to score that touchdown. And I think from that point on, we felt that we were very capable of winning the ball game. And I think that's the deep down feeling that eventually won the ball game for us. Now, Sipe isn't going to be intimidated at all, and he comes back throwing the ball. Although they did run the ball just a little bit more now as time was still on their side. But here you find Hill make those big key catches coming out of their backfield, much like Ricky Young makes for us. They had a long drive here. They used up almost 8 minutes in this drive and eventually scored a touchdown. And you see they're just pounding ahead in here and controlling the ball. Probably their best drive of the day as they come back, countered our drive, and you see Miller scoring their touchdown. It was a little bit tough there because it was 23-9 at this point. We came back a pass to Terry LeCount, and we score in about 5 plays here. You see Tommy looking around, sees that yard marker, and they get a penalty there for coming in on the quarterback from behind. That was a big mistake on their part. And Tommy back to pass now, does an excellent job of threading the needle here to Sammy. Puts it down in our end, and we're kind of in a hurry-up situation here a little bit. And you see Tommy come out, give the ball to Teddy, makes a good catch reaching behind him, and then avoids a linebacker to get into the end zone. And, you know, now we feel we're back in the ballgame. However, we do miss the extra point, and now we're 8 points behind. It's up to the defense now. They've got to stop them, and they're content now to run the ball as they run time off the clock. But they make one error, and here it is. Bobby Bryant sneaks up in front of Rucker and makes the interception, and that was probably another one of the biggest plays of the game, because that gave us the time. We score here in 37 seconds and 5 plays. The first one to Tucker over the middle. And a good play by Bob. Holds onto the ball after being hit hard. And then out to the side to Ahmad here, who does the outstanding thing of getting out of bounds and stopping the clock. Any one of these plays that we hadn't gotten out of bounds would certainly have used up the clock. We never had time to get back in it. Teddy makes a catch here, gets it blocked by Sensor. Watch him fight to get out of bounds. That again stops the clock. And then the touchdown here as Ahmad comes across the middle. And you kind of broke that pattern a little bit when you saw the opening, didn't you? Come in there. Big play, but we scored in 37 seconds. Finally stopped them, forced them to punt the ball. And you see there's nobody back there. Unfortunately, the ball goes in the end zone. I don't know how they let those last 2 seconds roll on that clock. We have 14 seconds, 80 yards to go. Pass over the middle, Sensor out to Teddy Brown. And Teddy, you can see here, he could probably got a few more yards, but he's wisely got out of bounds to stop the clock. You see the time on the clock. And now the long pass, you'll see, will slow it down just as the ball gets down there. You see the leap right here. And you see everybody's up. And there's the ball. And Merry Christmas.
How much money was that laying out there on that ball, Ahmad, when you saw that?
I think if you threw $5,000 at anybody, they could probably catch it like that.
And watch the picture. Now, folks, as you see this picture shake, that's the stadium. That's a camera that's perched on top of the stadium. That's the entire Met shaking. That's how excited everybody got.
That's 150,000 people that were there.
Boy, yeah. There were a lot of fans that left, and I know from now on, the rest of their lives, they'll say, why didn't I stay?
Well, I'd hate to have been in the parking lot when all that was going on.
In just a moment, we'll be back, and we'll take a closer look at those final 2 plays of the game right after this. After the game yesterday in the locker room, I was talking to Joe Sensor about the next to the last play of the game. I said, Joe, we used to run that when I played in high school. We called it a flea flicker. He said, yeah, we did too, but we have a different name for it here. What's the name of the play, and explain it for us?
Well, we actually look at the 2 plays, and they came off the same formation. This is a handoff pass, and this is Joe Sensor in here. Quarterback, of course, drops straight back, and Joe fights his way downfield in here and gets open as wherever he can in here and however he can. This man will be fighting him all the way as they play 4 deep across here. Remember, there's only 14 seconds to go. The key is, of course, Teddy Brown, who comes around in here and has to time the pass. Now, Joe had a tough time getting away, eventually does. This man will come over and pick up Teddy, as we'll see on the film, but when the ball is thrown in here to Joe, Teddy is coming underneath, and then, of course, the lateral takes place in here, and, of course, Teddy is down the field. Now, what happens is when the ball is thrown to Joe, it pulls these people in here and gives Teddy some running room to get down the field. It looks like a very simple thing to do, but it takes a little skill and certainly some timing. And then off this very same formation, on the very next play, we line up exactly the same way, and of course we send these 3 people. This would be Ahmad here, this would be Terry LeCount, this would be Sammy White, and they just run up the field. You can see we call it a squadron pass, and I guess that's maybe what it looks like. They try to hold them up with these 2 people. They'll have 6 people back here against our 3 when the ball goes up in the air, but as you'll see on the film, it is eventually tipped over here to Ahmad down in the end zone, and he scores the touchdown. And we'll look at the first play with 14 seconds to go. And you can see how they're lined up in here, very deep. You have one man almost not in the screen. They try to hold up here. They're protecting against, you know, a deep pattern. As they start out, this is Joe Sensor fighting his way off the line. You see he's having a tough time. You see Teddy has moved off the line of scrimmage in here. He's watching what's happening here. Joe gets deep enough. The ball is finally thrown. Joe catches the ball. Now, there's not much room between these two people, but it's a quick little flip. Teddy has the ball. Now, the effect is we've pulled this man up when they've seen the ball thrown. He's caught up inside. Teddy is running the ball down the field. Take another quick look at just the handoff. See Joe catch the ball. Quick flip. There's the ball in the air. Teddy catches it. He's down the sideline. Runs about 25 yards down the field. Stops the clock. You see there's 5 seconds left to go at this point. Same formation. Here's Sensor. Here are our 3 receivers. Of course, they have man down here on the 20-yard line. Now we just 3-man rush. Joe Sensor stays in. Tommy's going to throw the ball as far as he can. And here are three people going down the field. There's the ball coming down. There it is up in the air. And then reached back, caught very nonchalantly by Ahmed for the touchdown. One more time. Remember, this is Ahmed here. There it is. Walks in the end zone, and the place comes apart.
Just another routine play for Ahmad Rashad. We'll be back in just a moment, and we'll talk to Ahmad about that catch again right after that. Player guest, of course, is Ahmad Rashad, who yesterday, I think the final tally was 9 catches, 142 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 very, very important touchdowns. But the interesting thing about this is if it weren't for a funny-looking, almost beach toy, he probably would not have been in that game. Now, you've got it with you. I want you to show it to us and explain this new miracle in sports medicine.
Well, this is called the Berkeley Flotron. And what it actually does is I had fluid on my knee, and I couldn't contract the knee to get the fluid out, so I put my knee inside of this, and it contracts the knee for you. It inflates and forces the fluid out of the swollen area up into other areas of your body. And by Sunday morning, most of the fluid was gone off my knee.
How long did you have to keep that on with that pushing action or whatever? Did you sleep in it, or was it on there constantly?
Fred Zamberletti, our trainer, had me wear this, take it home a couple nights, slept with it a couple nights on. It just kind of pumps up for 10 seconds and then it deflates. And I wore it every day during practice, and it took the fluid right out of the knee.
If ever there was an example of how important a good trainer is, this would be one instance.
Yes, just not that be a habit, though. I mean.
Well, this is actually what enabled me to play, and this is what enabled me to catch that ball. Actually, keep one of those handy in the old pocket all the time.
Here it is, fans. Carry this with you wherever you go, and that is the Hail Mary horseshoe.
Found that in the corner of the end zone when you're under that pile.
Right there. We're going to wear that from now on.
Well, what did you say in the bottom of that pile? When LeCount was down there with you, what did you say, you know, hey, we're going to the playoffs? Or what was the first thing, the first utterance that you had?
We have a lot of guys on the team that are young players, and I don't think they've been around and been involved in a championship run. And I knew Terry was very excited, and there was a lot of people on top of us, and he was right close to me. And I just said, Terry, do you like money? And he just started laughing, you know, because, you know, we knew we had won the game, and it was all over with.
It's interesting to look back to last year because one of the teams that went to the Super Bowl, Los Angeles, I believe their regular season record was 9-7. Mm-hmm. Now, we see where the Vikings are sitting. You're going up against Houston. You're in the playoffs for sure. Anything could happen at this point.
That's for sure. Once you get in the playoffs, the season's behind you. The big rush is trying to get to the playoffs. What you want to do is try to get hot. Like the way we were about a month ago, we had 3 games where we were just sizzling. If any team that's involved in the playoffs gets hot like that, any team can win the big prize.
I'd like for you to tell the folks what you're looking forward to about going down and playing Houston that you told me just before the show.
No, I was only kidding, though, but I'd like to hear that song that they play down there. I hope we get a song when we get our dome.
Are we?
Are we?
Better.
Are the Vikings going to get a song like Lovely Blue?
It's going to be better.
How about injuries, because we've got about a minute and a half left. I got to ask you about injuries. I know, Ahmad, your knee is still
I'm taking care of it. I've got my Berkeley here.
Well, as long as you got your Berkeley, you're all right.
We're in good shape. Came out of the game. Studwell's got a sore knee, but I think it's the same situation. By Saturday or Sunday, we should have everybody back.
Playoff situation is not really settled who the Vikes will play when they go into the playoffs, is it?
No, we don't know at this time, and probably won't know we'll know something more after tonight's game, but probably won't know till after next week for sure.
The name Atlanta Falcons has been thrown around a lot. If things go pretty much in order, which they never do in the National Football League, you really can't say it's going to be Atlanta.
Well, there's some big games. I mean, there's Dallas has to play Los Angeles tonight, and then they have to play Philadelphia. You know, even the favorites lose once in a while in this business, as we proved yesterday. So we really don't know what's going to happen, and I don't think we're going to worry about it. We're going to let somebody else worry about that now.
That brings us to the Dallas-Los Angeles Monday Night Football game tonight here on Channel 5. How do you see that? That should be just a tremendous game.
I think Dallas is playing better right along. The Rams are in and out. It's hard to say how they're going to play, but I think their back's against the wall now, and they've got to play, and I think it should be an excellent football game, and I look for the Rams to come out tonight smoking.
All I can say is that was one of the most incredible moments I've ever seen of all the sporting events I've ever been to. Thanks for being with us today. For Ahmad Rashad, Coach Bud Grant, this is Bob Hussein. Join us next Monday night. Houston versus Minnesota. We'll have highlights.
This has been the Bud Grant Show with Minnesota Vikings head coach Bud Grant and Channel 5 sports director Bob Bruce. This program was a pre-recorded presentation of KSTP Sports.